Hey there guys, what's going on? So I decided that I'm going to do something different today. I'm going to show you my entire Blu-ray collection. I wanted to do this for a couple of years now, but I always hesitated doing it because my collection isn't uh, enormous. Like, I don't have a lot of Blu-rays. I actually want to have much more, but the fact is that in my country they're kind of rare. Not every single movie comes out on Blu-ray. They do come out on DVD though, but I'm not going to buy that shit. Like, what do you think I am? But so yeah, I've been a Blu-ray collector for quite some time. Now it's been like almost 10 years. This is my collection. Like, it's not anything major, but I mean, yeah, there are movies. Basically, I'm going to show you every single movie that I own, and we are going to briefly talk about it. So I suggest we just get started. I'm going to step on this chair, so I'm going to be it will be much easier for me to reach the movies. By the way, that's me, like, promoting Coca-Cola. And that's star of Angry Birds 2, to be exact. A little warning ahead. A lot of these covers will have translations on them. Now they're not going to be their original covers because in my country they have a habit of translating every single cover for the movie, but the movie inside the case is absolutely the same as the original. So yeah, a bunch of these covers will be in either German translation, because I buy a lot of these Blu-rays also in Austria, but a bunch of them also have Slovenian translation. But let's start with the first one. I have 3:10 to Yuma. It's like one of my favorite westerns. We have Russell Crowe, Christian Bale, directed by James Mangold, who then went on directing The Wolverine and then Logan, and also Ford v Ferrari, a fantastic filmmaker. Moving on, we have 21 Jump Street, one of my favorite comedies out there, and then we have 22 Jump Street. Just those are so entertaining. I could just watch them over and over again. My hand is hurting so badly right now, so I'm just going to put you guys down and I'm going to show you movies that way. Moving on, I have 300, very well directed movie, Zack Snyder, very stylish, it looks good on Blu-ray. Then I have 300 Resident Empire, the sequel. It's a movie. What can you do? It's okay, it's watchable, and once again, visuals are pretty good. Guilty pleasure. Abraham Lincoln, Vampire Hunter. Yeah, I thought it was Slayer. No, it's Vampire Hunter. It's very entertaining. It's such a bad movie. I love watching it. If you haven't seen it, just watch it and just turn off your brains and just enjoy watching it. It's so much fun. Adventures of Tintin. A bunch of these movies are also in 3D, because I do have a 3D TV and I still enjoy watching 3D movies. So if there is a copy of the movie that is available in 3D, of course I'm going to buy the 3D version, because I'm one of those rare 3D watchers left. But yeah, Adventures of Tintin, very like underrated, I would say. It didn't really get as much recognition as I would hope. The Amazing Spider-Man. Yeah, some people really enjoy this movie, some people don't. I think it's okay. I mean, I'm going to say that there wasn't a Spider-Man movie so far that I didn't enjoy. And that goes for also the next one, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's an enjoyable movie. I recognize flaws in it, but I mean, it's pretty looking. And I like Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker. Next up, American Sniper. It's a little overrated, I would say. It got a whole bunch of nominations at the Oscars, even Best Picture nomination. Bradley Cooper is absolutely great in this one, and it does look really good on Blu-ray, so I'm going to give it that. And I mean, you have to watch it at least once in your life. Next up, American Hustle, also a very well-made movie. Not my favorite by David O. Russell, but it has some really terrific performances in it, and it's pretty enjoyable. Next up, Anchorman. It's one of those cult hits. I watched it once in my life, so I will probably have to rewatch this one in some time. But yeah, it's a cult classic. Aquaman. This movie. This movie is it's kind of terrible. It's kind of awful, but I mean, it's very pretty to look at, and I would say that it is the best directed DCEU movie so far, at least. It has some really cool visuals, it's very colorful, just terrific CGI, and also the 3D doesn't look all that bad. Next up, Arrival, Denis Villeneuve, one of my favorite filmmakers. It's so good. Amy Adams, overlooked performance, and just overall the visuals, the musical score, it's just top-notch filmmaking. Arthur Christmas, also a very fun animated movie that just has a lot of heart and it's very enjoyable. Next up, classic Avatar. A lot of people don't like this one. I like this one a lot. It's probably the best 3D movie so far, and it's probably gonna stay this way unless like Avatar 2, 3, 4, and 5 just blow us away in regards to visuals and 3D and stuff. But it's just a really well-made movie, and it's very pretty, especially on Blu-ray. I like Avatar. What can you do? The sun is so bright right now. Is that gonna help? That's not gonna help. Oh, that's gonna help. Okay. Next up, absolute classic. The Avengers. As you will see, I don't own every MCU movie on Blu-ray. I have to get them, but as I said, my collection is very just like random. Just a whole bunch of random movies in my collection, incomplete franchises. So yeah, I could see how many Blu-ray collectors could be bothered by this collection. But I love movies, so I'm one of you guys. The Avengers, the first one, and it's like the only Avengers movie that I own actually, so yeah, I'm going to have to get the other Avengers movies. This one is absolutely one of my favorite MCU movies. It was just like seeing it for the first time, it was just mind-blowing. And in fact, this was the first MCU movie I saw in theaters. I didn't see the previous one, so that's where it started for me. Next up, we have Baby Driver, one of my favorites of 2017. It's so well made, so well directed, and it's suspenseful, so much fun, and just if you haven't seen it already, just absolutely go watch it. Next, I have Batman v Superman, classic, and also I have Batman v Superman. So yeah, in my country it was a little weird because I bought a 3D version, but it didn't have the Ultimate Edition on it, so I have to separately buy the BVS Ultimate Edition. So now I own two versions of this movie. This movie could have been so much better, but it looks beautiful, the visuals are very pretty, and it looks good on Blu-ray. Next up, one of my favorites lately, Blade Runner 2049. This movie I was blown away by this. This is such a beautifully directed movie. It has absolutely spectacular cinematography. Won Roger Deakins his first Oscar. A lot more people should have seen this one. It's so good. Next up, Boyhood. First movie review that I ever did on my channel. This is where it started. But yeah, this one was very good. I can see how many people could say it's overrated and it's just like a gimmick with the 12-year stuff and everything. But I think it's very well made. I think it's very human, and people could see this as being one of those boring movies. I actually find it very entertaining. Next up, Captain Phillips. This one actually blew me away because I was expecting a good, well-made movie, but I was blown away by how much I loved this movie. It was so entertaining. Tom Hanks, just his performance, especially like the last 10 or 5 minutes, just powerful stuff. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I enjoyed this movie. I don't own the second one. I actually haven't even seen the second one. I didn't hear many great things about it, so I don't think if I ever will watch the second movie. But yeah, this one looks good on Blu-ray, and also the 3D I remember being very good. Oh, another one of those guilty pleasure movies, Con Air, starring Nicolas Cage. Absolute classic. It's so much fun. They should make much more of this kind of action movies, just cheesy popcorn schlock, and it's so fun to watch, and I love it. Next one, I have one of my favorite comedies, Crazy Stupid Love. I love this movie. It's so entertaining. Steve Carell, he's just like one of my favorite actors. I mean, he's so likable in everything I see him in. And also Ryan Gosling is great in this movie. Just in fact, it has a great cast. It's just like I said, it's super entertaining. And if you haven't seen it yet, watch it. Next up, it's a little strange because I don't own the first one of these, but I have Creed 2. And why I own only this one? Because in my country only this one came on Blu-ray. I could go in Austria and buy the first one, and I probably will in the near future, you know, once this whole quarantine thing ends. But yeah, Creed 2 I enjoyed much more than I thought I will. I love the first Creed movie when the sequel was coming out, and it also needed so much time to come in the theater in my country. Before it even hit theaters here, it came on VOD, so I just watched it at home. But yeah, I loved this one. It's not the same director, it's not Ryan Coogler, the one who did the first movie. Who directed this one? Stephen Caple Jr. He did a great job with this one, and I mean, yeah. The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. I don't even remember much of this movie, so I should probably rewatch it in the near future, but David Fincher, one of my favorite directors, he just makes his movies perfectly. It's so precise, and I have to rewatch this one. Next up, I have The Dark Knight, and then next up I have The Dark Knight trilogy. So yeah, I in fact own The Dark Knight twice. I first bought this, and then later on I bought the collection as well. So yeah, I mean, I don't mind owning The Dark Knight twice because it's one of my favorite movies. It's like, it might be my favorite superhero movie ever made. So I don't really mind owning two editions of the same movie. But yeah, some of my favorite superhero movies. They're so well made. Christopher Nolan, one of my favorite directors. Especially The Dark Knight Rises. Looks so good on Blu-ray. It's just, just visual spectacle. Next up, Deadpool. Also one of those great superhero movies, very entertaining. It is just one of those fun movies that you can just watch. And also, I know a lot of people didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, but Deadpool 2, I really enjoyed it, and I think I actually like both of them like equally, because I think that maybe the second one is even more funny than the first one. I own the super duper cut, which is like 15 minutes longer, and it also has some alternative jokes in it. Such fun movies, and I mean, I don't know what they're doing. It's taking them so long to come up with a third movie. What's up with that? Next up, another one of those guilty pleasures, Die Another Day. The last one out of Pierce Brosnan Bond movies. This one's a classic. This one's something else. Next, I have one of my favorite action movies ever made, Die Hard. The first Die Hard movie. It's just such a likable protagonist. It's such a fun movie, just an absolute classic. It's one of those inspiring action movies, and it was a great inspiration also doing my very own action movie, Lethal Point. Link in the description below if you maybe want to watch that. Next up, one of my favorites, absolute favorites, so much fun. I loved it ever since it came out, Disturbia. Such a random movie, right? To be like one of my favorites, but it's so much fun. Like, thrillers are just like my kind of movies. And ever since I saw this for the very first time, it was like one of my favorites, because it's very entertaining. If you haven't seen Disturbia yet, just watch it. It will change your life. Next up, I have Django Unchained. Probably my favorite Tarantino movie, actually. I love this one so much. It's so well made, also so entertaining. It's almost 3 hours long. But it's the time flies when you're watching this movie. Great performances and the directing, and it's just like Tarantino just makes such fun movies. Don't Breathe. Very surprising movie, actually. I loved this one. It was one of my favorites in 2016. Just one of those movies that are just like fun rides. It's such a fun horror movie, very suspenseful. Just go and watch it. It's very well made. Next up, I have very random, The Drop. Does anybody still remember this movie? I mean, it stars James Gandolfini, Tom Hardy, and Noomi Rapace, as I like to say her name. But this one was very well made. It's one of those like suspenseful drama thrillers, And I think it's one of those underrated gems because I really like Tom Hardy in this movie. His performance, especially like how his character turns out to be towards the ending of the movie. This one was directed by Michael R. Roskam. It doesn't ring a bell, so yeah, it's directed by a guy. But yeah, I remember really enjoying this movie. Next up, another Christopher Nolan, Dunkirk. A lot of people didn't really like this movie. They said it lacked characterization and stuff, but I think this was very well made. I think this looks amazing, like on Blu-ray, and also watching it in IMAX, this was just spectacular. Just everything from the sound design and how it's directed and how the editing is pulled off, like with the different time zones and everything. Edge of Tomorrow, one of the best Tom Cruise spectacles. It's such a fun ride. Yeah, just please give us a sequel. Elysium, visually beautiful movie. It's very well pulled off, very well directed. I think that Matt Damon in this one is actually a really cool action hero, and it's a fun movie. Just watch it. Next up I have The Equalizer. It's a fun one. It's Antoine Fuqua, Denzel team up, and they did like how many? Like 5, 6, or 7 movies together. They're a good pair, and I enjoy watching everything they do. Yeah, this one is pretty badass. It's a kind of slow action movie, but when the action hits, it's pretty well done. I do not own the sequel. I didn't enjoy it as much as the first one, but I mean it was okay. It was watchable. I have like 2 movies in one. I have Escape Plan and Man on a Ledge. 2 very random movies, right? I don't know why I bought these, but it was probably very cheap, like 2 movies in one. But I remember enjoying Escape Plan when it came out, and also Man on a Ledge. I found it to be very entertaining. I haven't seen it for like 5 years now, so maybe if I would like watch it through more of a mature eyes now. I've learned so much about just filmmaking in general in those last years of doing this kind of stuff, and just like, learning so much more about movies. Maybe I would see this movie a little differently now, so I will probably have to rewatch it sometime in the future, and maybe, I don't know, maybe I will even like it more. I don't know. When it comes to this next franchise, it's just, I don't know, it's very scrambled in my collection. Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. I only own the first Fantastic Beasts movie. I didn't buy the second one. Maybe I will buy it. Yeah, I enjoyed this one. I had fun with this one. I also enjoyed the second one, actually. I know that everybody hates that movie, but it was, I mean, it is what it is. I never was a big Harry Potter fan, so if I just see some pretty enjoyable stuff, and I don't really think about the lore and just like all of the legend stuff and what should happen and what shouldn't happen, I just think about seeing well-made movies. So I think that this was well-made, pretty entertaining, and yeah, that's it about Fantastic Beasts. Oh, this is when it gets real. Fast 5. This is like, I had fun time with Fast and Furious movies before this one. I was like, yeah, I watched the 4th one in the theater, and I was like, yeah, this is entertaining and stuff. But then I went to see the 5th one in the theater, and I was like, this is awesome. Like, this is so much fun. This is so entertaining. I actually watched it twice in the theaters. I mean, right now, this isn't like a big thing for me, like rewatching movies in theater. But back in 2011, when this came out, it wasn't really a common thing for me to watch the same movie twice in the theater. I was just a stupid little kid. What did I know? But yeah, I had such a great time with this one. This is just the point where this franchise gets just super, super awesome. And let's move on with Fast and Furious, because we have Fast and Furious 6 next. And yes, in fact, I do not own any Fast and Furious movie before the 5th one. But Fast and Furious 6, I also find this one very entertaining. It probably has a better villain than the 5th movie. But overall, I would say that Fast 5 is my favorite Fast and Furious movie. But Furious 6 is still very entertaining. And so is Furious 7. Just very unfortunate thing what happened to the production of this movie, just like losing Paul Walker and everything, and they had to kind of like rewrite majority of this movie. So maybe watching it, it does feel kind of messy, but very well made. James Wan, just actually very well directed movie. Fate of the Furious. When I watched this movie for the first time in the theater, I had a great time watching it. It was so much fun. Then upon a few rewatches, it's actually not that good. I think this is my least favorite out of these new Fast and Furious movies. Not like least favorite of the entire franchise. I would say that probably Tokyo Drift is my least favorite of the entire franchise. And also I don't really particularly enjoy Too Fast, Too Furious. This one is still fun, but it's kinda, the screenplay is kinda lacking in this one. It doesn't really make any sense. Next up I have A Few Good Men. I've never seen this. I probably bought this movie like 5 years ago and I still haven't watched it. So there's that. I should probably watch this one because I hear a lot of good things about this movie. Fight Club. Once again, David Fincher. It's its own genre, like David Fincher movie. It's very well made. I probably don't like it as much as every other human on this planet because people just go crazy for this movie, but I still think it's very well made and just very well directed. It has some good performances in it. Next up I have Finding Nemo. I actually don't remember when was the last time I watched this, and I don't remember much stuff from this movie, so I should probably rewatch it sometime. But yeah, it's Pixar and they know what they're doing. Next up, Gangster Squad. Guilty pleasure. It's directed by Ruben Fleischer, who then went on directing Venom and also the Zombieland movies, and it's currently signed on directing the Uncharted movie. And I think if that doesn't stick, I wouldn't be shocked. But yeah, I think they found their director. But Gangster Squad, I had a lot of fun with this one. I think it's very entertaining. And just it has a great cast, and it's not like one of those Oscar baity gangster movies. It's very popcorny, just a schlocky action movie. So just go in with that expectation. Now I have to kind of like remove the camera from the shelf because it's laying on top of these next Blu-rays I'm going to talk about. But yeah, let's hold the camera for a little bit. Next up I have Get Smart. Yeah, it's once again Steve Carell. I remember really enjoying this movie when I was younger, so maybe I'm going to rewatch it sometime, and I don't know if I will enjoy it as much, but I remember being very entertaining. Another Fincher, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Such a well-made movie. I've actually never seen the original trilogy, but this one was very good. This one also has a sequel. We're not gonna talk about that, and I do not own it, but yeah, Daniel Craig, Rooney Mara, it's awesome. Gladiator, a little overrated if you ask me. I'm not a huge fan of this movie, but it's pretty well directed, and Russell Crowe is awesome in this movie. I'll just lay it down here because my hand hurts so much. Next up I have Godzilla in 3D, and next up I have just regular Godzilla. But yeah, this was a gift and I owned this movie before. But I mean, what can you do? I have two of the same movies now. It's good. I enjoy this movie. It is what it is, and it's probably still the best movie in this universe now. Yeah, I mean, how many movies are it's like 3 movies only, but yeah, they're building the universe, and I'm looking forward to seeing Kong vs. Godzilla, and let's hope that isn't crap. Goldfinger, one of my favorite Bond movies. I will probably resume my James Bond reviews before No Time to Die. I don't know, we'll see. I started doing these James Bond reviews. We got to this one, so I had 3 reviews in and we already gave up. But yeah, this one is a classic. This one is so entertaining, and it's probably the best out of Sean Connery James Bond movies. And our Fincher, Gone Girl. This is something else. I remember seeing this movie in the theater because I read the book before seeing this one, and I was expecting a really good movie, and I know all the story beats and everything, but just how this movie was made, and just cinematography, and just the feeling, and just the way David Fincher color grades his movies, it's just so stylistic. I just absolutely adore it. Gravity, one of my favorites of the previous decade. I know a lot of people don't like this one. They think it's boring and everything. I just think it's visually masterful. It's masterfully done, and I absolutely adore it. Just Alfonso Cuarón, just an absolute genius. The Greatest Showman. I love this movie. I think it's very underrated. A lot of people don't enjoy this one. They think it's kind of like a fairy tale. And you know what? It is. It's not accurate to how this person really was. But I really enjoy it. And it's visually beautiful. The Green Hornet. I remember enjoying this movie when I first watched it. When I rewatch it, probably it won't be as good. It is what it is. But next up, we have the Green Lantern. Next up, the first two Hangover movies. I enjoyed these two. Even the second one, I think it's a very entertaining movie. Yeah, it's the exact same movie as the first movie. Who cares? I mean, who fucking cares? They're very entertaining comedies, and just Todd Phillips, he made the Joker. So to all the Joker lovers out there, I enjoy Hangover too. I like Joker. We'll get to that. The Happening, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. It's The Happening, and I own this movie in ironic way. I know how bad it is. It's so entertaining. What? No. Mark Wahlberg. Next up, I own the last two Harry Potter movies, Deathly Hallows Part 1 and Deathly Hallows Part 2. Those are the only two Harry Potter movies that I own. It's in no particular reason. I think I enjoyed the third movie actually the most, and also the last one is one of my favorites. But yeah, I mean, I own these two. They're pretty to look at on the Blu-ray, so it is what it is. I'm going to put you guys back there so we'll have a better angle. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the stuff. Hellboy. The Ron Perlman Hellboy movie. And I remember watching this movie a lot when I was a kid. I rewatched a lot of the action sequences and everything, and I found it very entertaining. And it is a very well made movie, Guillermo del Toro, and I should buy the second one in the future. So I will probably do that. The remake, yeah, it's pretty bad. Let's not talk about that. The Hobbit, The Desolation of Smaug, the second Hobbit movie. I do not own the first one. I should go and get this one, but the first one is my least favorite in, let's say, in the entire Middle-earth franchise. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this second movie. I know that these movies got a bad rap, but there's still enjoyable things in them. The third Hobbit movie, The Battle of the Five Armies, I actually really like the 3D in this movie, so they look beautiful on 3D. And it's just, yeah, it's full of CGI. It looks much worse than the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but it's still entertaining. I also have the extended edition of the third Hobbit movie, but look at that now in my country. You see how dumb we are. When you put it out of the slipcover, look at that. It doesn't have a cover. And it's not like this was an accidental copy. I went back to the store and checked out the other versions of this, and not one of them had slipcover on the inside. And it's like, it's kind of stupid. The only movie in this franchise I own, I have How to Train Your Dragon 2. I like this franchise. It's not like they're some of my favorite animated movies out there, but I still find them very enjoyable and visually just beautiful. Next up, Ice Age 1, 2, and 3. Those three are kind of like still acceptable, but then when it goes on, the fourth one I remember being kind of like crappy, and I didn't even watch the fifth one, so I still have to get on that. But I think that the third one actually is my favorite one, but I don't know, maybe I should rewatch them sometime and maybe I'll decide then. Oof, next up, one of my favorites, Inception. I love this movie, Christopher Nolan. It blew my mind, and it's just one of those movies that just exists now. And I didn't watch it in the theater back then because I wouldn't even get it, because then when I watched it at home and at that time I was like, yeah, it's well made, but I was too young to care apparently. But yeah, now it's one of my favorites and just geniusly made. Another Christopher Nolan, Interstellar. Very enjoyable. I remember this movie opening to many like mixed reviews. I think this is just, it looks beautiful, very well directed. Matthew McConaughey is awesome in this movie, but I can recognize some elements in this like being not the best, but still it's like it's Interstellar. It's great. The Iron Man trilogy. Iron Man 1 is my favorite. I don't enjoy Iron Man 2. I think it's my least favorite MCU movie. So Iron Man 2 can only hope that Venom becomes part of the MCU universe, so that can take the worst spot. But nevertheless, Iron Man trilogy, the third one, I enjoy much more than most people. I know that a lot of people don't like that one at all, but I found it to be very entertaining, and just I enjoyed the twist. And it comes from somebody who is not very big on the Mandarin character. I do not know anything about him from the comics, but I mean, I open to finding out something more about him in the Shang-Chi movie. The first It movie, one of my favorite horror movies that year. It was so entertaining, such a fun ride. I should get the second one on Blu-ray. I enjoyed it. I know that a lot of people didn't enjoy that one all that much, but I think that the first one is still the best one. But yeah, I'll get the second one in the future. John Wick! The movie that probably changed action movies, and I just watched Extraction yesterday, and they took a lot of inspirations from John Wick. It's very well made, and it's still my favorite one out of this entire franchise, and it's the only one I own, but it's not like for any reason. I have to get the next two movies. Joker. So don't hate me, Joker fans. I own Joker. I like this movie a lot. It was on my list of my favorites last year. I don't love this movie as much as a lot of other people, but still the performance by Joaquin Phoenix, absolutely just great. He was awesome in this movie, and also the movie looks nice. So yeah, The Judge. It sounds great. But I find the ending of this movie to be very powerful. I found it to be very emotional. It has very good performances by Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall, and it's pretty good. So if you haven't seen it, watch it. Next one, classic Jurassic Park in 3D. This is one of the best 3D remastered movies I've seen. It looks awesome on 3D, and also the movie it's a classic. Hold on to your butts, as Samuel L. Jackson would say, because now we're gonna start talking about Justice League. Where can I even start? It's bad. It's pretty bad, and I want to see Snyder Cut. Let's just say that I'm waiting for that thing to come out so I can compare. Next, Kick-Ass. Absolutely fantastic. It's so entertaining, directed by Matthew Vaughn, and it's just one of those enjoyable superhero movies. It's like Deadpool in a way, just a very well made and entertaining rated R superhero movie. So watch it if you haven't. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. This one, it was kind of like people didn't know what to think about this movie. I enjoyed it because I was expecting an absolute crap from the trailers. I didn't enjoy any of the trailers that were coming out, but then the movie came out and I was like, oh, this is kind of like, this is very visually strange, and I think it was well made and enjoyable. Another Matthew Vaughn, Kingsman: The Secret Service. I do not own the second one. I think I will get it in the future. I do not like it nearly as much as the first movie. I think that this is a very well made action movie. And Taron Egerton. This was the movie that introduced me to him. Just a great new talent on the horizon when this movie came out. Now we know how great he can be. Night and Day. Another James Mangold movie, and a lot of people don't realize that James Mangold made this one. I enjoyed this movie. I liked it ever since it came out. Like when I watched it in 2010 for the first time, I enjoyed it then, and I still very much enjoy this movie. And it's also because I'm a huge fan of Tom Cruise. Next up, we have The Legend of Tarzan. Another one of those, like, could I say guilty pleasure? I don't know. I don't know, but I recognize this movie as being a little bland, and I think it was a little rushed, especially if you watched some of the scenes in this movie. Like, it doesn't really seem like they gave their all in making those scenes. But I would be open for a sequel for this movie, but I mean, it's alright. Next up, the Lego Movie, the first one. I need to get the second one because I enjoyed both of these. It's very entertaining. Chris Miller and Phil Lord, just they know what they're doing, and also, like I said, 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street, just they're very fun filmmakers. The Lego Batman movie, didn't enjoy it as much as the first Lego movie. It's still fun. Yeah, they know what they're doing. Next up, another 2-in-1. I think this is a better collection. Limitless and Looper. Limitless, I think I need to rewatch, but I think it was very well made. It has a very specific style, and just I really like Bradley Cooper. And Looper is just classic. It was one of my favorites that year. Rian Johnson, yeah, he made a great movie. Who would have thought, huh? The Lion King, the original one, the 2D animated one. Just one of my absolute favorites. I do not own the remake, even though I didn't hate it. I actually enjoyed it. I think it was an okay movie, but I mean, how can you recreate a flawless movie? It's impossible. Okay, this next one is a biggie, because I have the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy extended editions, and then I have them also in theatrical editions, so... Yeah, I'm a big Lord of the Rings fan. I love these movies, so I own both editions of each movie, and it's just absolute classics. Just it's kind of like a miracle how well those movies were pulled off, because they are such epics and just absolutely with just so much heart, and I just want to cry every time I watch any of them. And next up, Losers. Just a very random movie. Another one of comic book movies starring Chris Evans. He was in so many of these. But they're Losers. It's kind of like, I don't think it's good, but every once in a while, I just find myself in a mood to watch like a crappy comic book movie, and it's not like this is horrible. It's cheesy, and I really like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, and also Zoe Saldana is just absolutely beautiful. The Road Warrior, Mad Max 2. It's good. Maybe I find it a little dated, and also because I didn't watch it growing up, I saw it late. And I mean, Mel Gibson, pretty badass in this movie, and it's very well directed. It's well made movie, but I don't think it can compare to Fury Road. This movie will fry your brains. It's so well made. It's also kind of like a miracle how this movie was made. It took them like 3 years to release this movie, and I think I can see why. It's an absolute classic. It's so good. Another Antoine Fuqua Denzel team up, The Magnificent Seven. I enjoyed this movie. Oh shit. Another one of those fun westerns. It doesn't really take itself as seriously as many other westerns do, but it still has some really great moments, and it has a cool cast. Also Chris Pratt in this movie. A lot of fun. It kind of feels like his character is from modern times and he found a time machine to go in western times, because some of his jokes are very modern. I don't even feel like showing the next one. Paul Blart Mall Cop. I blind bought this one because I actually heard from someone that this is a lot of fun. And I think they were wrong. This movie is horrible. I don't know why this is in my collection. The Man from U.N.C.L.E., another Guy Ritchie movie. It's fun. It's very entertaining. I think that Henry Cavill is really good in this one, but I do think it's a little too full of itself at the moment. I'm not a humongous fan of the crazy editing stuff in the movies, like going back in time and all of a sudden just all those flashbacks. If it's done well, I will buy it, but I think it kind of got on my nerves in this one. Next up, Man of Steel, and Man of Steel, another gift that I received, and I also own it before. But I mean, it has two different covers, so it's kind of cool. I think this is very underrated. It's I really enjoy Man of Steel, and also like unlike Batman v Superman, they didn't really feel the need to jam pack this movie with all of those setups for next movies. So it's very focused on just Superman's character, and I think it's very entertaining. It's in my opinion very underrated, and probably still my favorite in DCEU. Next up we have The Martian. Fun fact, I watched this movie on the same day I started college. So yeah, it kind of lifted me up. But yeah, it's a really good movie. Ridley Scott, Matt Damon. Just fun. A very fun movie. Next up, an absolute classic, The Matrix. I only own the first one because it's like the only one I enjoy watching. I think it's a very well made action movie. I also saw it a little too late, but yeah, still you just cannot deny how well made this movie is. Next up, I think I want to hit myself in the face for owning only one movie from this franchise. I only own the fourth Mission Impossible movie. I know, it's an absolute travesty. Right now I'd say this is my second favorite in the entire franchise because Fallout took the #1 spot, and I need to get all of them on Blu-ray, absolutely, because it's that action franchise that, just like Fast 5, it became something else with the fourth movie. This is just one of those cool and slick action movies. It's just a lot of fun, and Tom Cruise just he kind of like shifted into the next gear with this movie and just became so much more awesome. Next, one of my favorite animated movies of that year, Mr. Peabody and Sherman. So underrated. I find it to be so underrated. I loved watching this movie. It's just such a fun adventure. Just I can't see how anybody would dislike this movie. Just so full of joy and just so much fun. Just please watch it. It's a very random recommendation, but it's Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Goddamn. Next up, I have the National Treasure movies. Classics, absolute classics. Just Nicolas Cage. He's a national treasure on his own. I really want the third movie of this. These are such fun movies. Next up, I have Night at the Museum, the only one of this franchise I own. I don't know. Where am I with this one? It's fine. Next up, Only God Forgives in 3D, which is absolute bullshit. I was walking in the store and I saw Only God Forgives. Hey, I need to get this one. And I saw 3D. This one was in 3D. It's not in 3D. They just push the entire image out of the screen. It's not like there's any depth. It's just entire like screen is pushed out. So it's kind of like a rip-off. I don't know. Is that even legal? I don't know. But I really like this movie. I think this is very underrated. I know. I get why people hate this movie. It's just I love Nicholas Winding Refn. I need to get Drive. I do not own Drive on Blu-ray. I can't believe how I can own Only God Forgives and not Drive. But yeah, this was a successor to Drive, and I found it to be very well made, and just I found it to be very suspenseful at some moments. Paranorman, another just very well made. Is this stop motion? I think it's stop motion. Yeah, it is. It's very good. I enjoyed this movie, and that's that. Next up, okay, this is also a messy collection from this franchise. I own the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I own the second Pirates of the Caribbean movie, and then I own the fourth Pirates of the Caribbean movie. I do not own the third or the fifth one. No particular reason. I think the first one is still the best one. Then the second one, then I would probably go... It just goes downhill. They're very well made. I think that visual styles of especially second and the third movie are like close to perfect when it comes to visuals. But yeah, by far the first one is my favorite one. It's just fun. The second and the third and also fourth and fifth kind of have some unnecessary stuff in them. But when it comes to the second movie, the entire section on that island, where on the big giant wheel and stuff, I find that entire sequence so entertaining. It's so much fun. So if the entire movie would just be like that, it would be like as good as the first movie. Predators. It's also funny how I don't own Predator and I only own Predators, but a lot of people hate this one. I think it's entertaining. I don't really buy Adrian Brody as this big badass action hero, but I think he was absolutely jacked in this movie, and I mean he did a good job. And also he has Mahershala Ali in one of his earlier works. It's fun, it's entertaining, and it's not Robert Rodriguez directed movie. He produced it, but still it kind of has some of his style in it, especially when it comes to starring Machete. Oh, this next one is very, very underrated. Predestination. More people should see this one. This is such a badass sci-fi film that kind of came out of nowhere. I haven't heard anything about this movie, and then it just popped up. And there it is, Predestination. Ethan Hawke, it's probably my favorite movie of his. It might be, yeah. It's so well done, so well directed, full of like twists and turns, and just very quick, just very fast-paced movie. And just watch it. Priest. I don't know what to say. It's Priest, starring Paul Bettany, and I own it in 3D. I'm gonna be honest, I don't remember anything about this movie. I remember a big action sequence on the train towards the end, and that's like all that I remember from this. But I should rewatch it. Maybe it's one of those guilty pleasures, I don't know. But I will pop in the 3D disc so to see how the visuals are. Next up, Prom Night. If I own a lot of crappy movies, as you can see, but yeah, Prom Night, one of those like nostalgic, if I can say, movies, because I like watched it very young, and I was like, ooh, a scary movie, and I found it very entertaining then, and yeah, there are stupid characters in this. But it's still kind of a guilty pleasure. It's a fun like slasher film. I mean, what can you expect? It's fine. It's Prom Night, and it also has Idris Elba in it. So maybe I sold this movie to somebody now. Next up, absolute classic, Pulp Fiction. It's classic. It's one of the good ones. Tarantino, the movie that put him on the map. I mean, you can say Reservoir Dogs, yeah, of course, but this one blew him up. It's not often when you see like this kind of constructed movies, and it only can be done with Tarantino. Next up, Ready Player One. It's still in plastic, this one. I still haven't opened it. I only watched this movie once in the theater. I thought it was fine. I think it's a little bloated and a little dull. I think that Spielberg, I don't think if he found himself in this movie. The Revenant, probably one of the best looking movies ever made. The cinematography in this one is out of this world. It's such a pretty looking movie. It looks amazing on Blu-ray. The subject matter, I find a little overrated. It's a lot of Leonardo DiCaprio just kind of like stumbling through the woods. Still, it has great performances. Tom Hardy in this one, I think, is even better than DiCaprio. But yeah, it has some brutal, badass moments in it, that's for sure. And it has great visuals. Finally, I have a complete franchise. One of those rare completed trilogies that I own. Rise of the Planet of the Apes, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and War for the Planet of the Apes. Very well made movies. Just they look really good on Blu-ray. And just Andy Serkis, man, that guy is just a beast. Or an ape. Salt, starring Angelina Jolie. It's kind of crappy. This movie has so many versions. I remember like watching a few versions when I was younger, and I was so confused because in one version she does something that she doesn't do in other version, and some version has a completely different ending than that second version, but then that second version had a different ending than the first one, and it has I don't know how this movie ends. I don't know what the actual ending of this movie is because it has so many additions. Next up, oh, absolute guilty pleasure, San Andreas. This is so much fun. Not because I'm in love with Alexandra Daddario. It's not that.
It's Dwayne Johnson. No, it's just a very fun movie. It's so well made. I mean, disaster movies. It's one of those, and it's like one of the best ones in that genre. I would say it's very well made, and like the visuals, like the CGI in this is pretty great. Ooh, next another one of those suspenseful fun movies. The Shallows, and no, I do not mean a song from A Star Is Born. I mean a shark movie starring Blake Lively. I found this very entertaining and also pretty badass, especially like towards the end. Jamais Colette Sarah, is it pronounced that way? He's like one of those fun filmmakers. I loved his work ever since Unknown. I was very like big on him. Like I was following his work just constantly, and he has made so many fun movies. I even liked the House of Wax that he made. Like he's a very fun filmmaker. Next up, another water creature movie, Shape of Water. This is much better than The Shallows, and don't get me wrong. It's visually beautiful. It won Best Picture. Once again, Guillermo del Toro, just beautifully made movie. It's just, you can see how much love was put into making this one by Guillermo del Toro. It's a movie made by a movie lover. You can just, it's written all over this movie. Next up I have Shazam. I think this is very overrated. I don't like this movie nearly as much as a lot of other people do. This, like, people were going nuts for this movie. Like, it's so much fun. It's like the best DCEU movie. It's not even close, in my opinion. This is a lot of pacing in this movie was kind of awkward to me. Like, I didn't even find it like fun. I can find like Jump Street movies fun. I find this movie to be like okay. It's fine. I think that Zachary Levi is a pretty good hero in this movie, and I actually really like David F. Sandberg. I think that he's a really cool guy, the guy who directed this. But I don't think this is like one of those great superhero movies. I think it's only fine. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Next up, I have the first Sherlock Holmes movie starring RDJ and directed by Guy Ritchie. This is a strange one because I remember watching this one for the first time and being like, this is kind of strange. I didn't really get Guy Ritchie's style back then. Well, what was that, 2009? Oh, I was like 13 years old, maybe even less. Yeah, it kind of took a few rewatches before I started appreciating this movie a little more. I think the second one is better, which is strange because I only owned this one. But I think that Robert Downey Jr. is great in this role, and also Jude Law is pretty good, and Rachel McAdams is just a cutie pie. Next up, I own every single Shrek movie. I don't know why. I just do. I think that I like the second one the most, actually, but the first one is absolute classic. The second one, I enjoy all the references in this movie, and also the first one has a lot of references. But I think that these two are just really strong. But then we have the third and the fourth movie, and it's kind of like, okay, where are we going with this? And apparently they're doing like a reboot or something. I don't know. I mean, do we need more Shrek? I'm not sure. Next up, Shutter Island. This one is pretty damn good, and I remember reading the book years after watching this movie, and I can't believe how accurate this movie is to the book. It's like almost the exact same thing. It's very well made. Martin Scorsese. It's not a traditional Scorsese movie. If you just like put this movie on to somebody who's not aware by who it is made, I don't think they would figure out it's Scorsese movie because it doesn't feel like it. But they are very good, and also DiCaprio, like usual, is just awesome in this movie. Next up, I have The Silence of the Lambs. Absolute classic. Anthony Hopkins, terrific performance. Jodie Foster, also really good. This is the only one that I actually saw from this franchise. I haven't seen Hannibal, and I haven't seen the Red Dragon, the third movie, and also the prequel and the TV show. I didn't watch any of those. Maybe I should do a marathon sometime in the future. But this one is really good, and it's one of those like thriller, crime, mystery movies that is very well made. Who directed this? Jonathan Demme. I have no idea who that guy is. One of my favorite action movies of all time, Skyfall. I know you can laugh at me and say like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's just a Bond movie. Yeah, but it's really good. It's like one of the best made action movies I've ever seen. It has such a pretty visual style. The cinematography in this is spectacular. Roger Deakins just knocked it out of the park with this one. And just what this movie did for the character of Bond and everything. I'm such a big fan of Bond. He might be my favorite movie character. I grew up on this guy. It's just I have a lot of love for this character. But this is by far my favorite James Bond movie. Skyfall kicks ass, and I don't care what anybody says. This movie is awesome. It's one of my favorites. Next up, I have Slumdog Millionaire. I really like this movie. Even the first time I watched it in 2008, and I was like 12 years old. I think I was even younger. And I watched this movie, and also seeing Frida Pinto, and I was like, oh my god, this is the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. But yeah, it's really good movie. It's terrific. It won Best Picture. Danny Boyle directed this one. I also really like his 127 Hours. Maybe even more than this one. I'm not sure. I need to also buy that one. But yeah, this movie is absolutely great. Another random one. Snow White and the Huntsman. I was about to say Slumdog and the Huntsman. That's an interesting movie. Yeah, this one visually very pretty. It has cool visual style, really good CGI and stuff. And Charlize Theron is so beautiful in this movie. Oh my god! But Kristen Stewart gives a pretty bad performance in this, but it also has Chris Hemsworth, and he's just such a likable action star, I would say. And I mean, it's fine. And also The Huntsman: Winter's War. I think I will actually buy that one sometime in the future. That one is also watchable. It's shock. It's fun. The next up, Spectre. You know what? So many people are turning on this one lately. I think it's so underrated. I think that this was actually a lot of fun. It's not as good as Skyfall. It's not as good as Casino Royale also, which I don't own actually. I need to buy Casino Royale sometime. But are some elements rushed in this? Does it feel kind of lazy? Yeah, I think that Sam Mendes could have done a better job with this. But I still find this movie very enjoyable. I think it looks great. It's a Bond movie, and it does have that Bond feeling, and it's a fun action movie. What can I say? I like it. Next up, Speed Racer. I have no idea about this movie because I've never seen it. I bought it from a friend for very cheap, and I'm going to watch it sometime in the future. What is the Wachowski movie? Yeah, they directed this one, and I don't even know what to expect from this. It looks crazy. I don't know. God help me. Next up, one of my favorites of 2018 is Star is Born. Bradley Cooper, his directorial debut, and just it's a great movie. What can I say? Lady Gaga gives a terrific performance in this movie, and also Bradley Cooper is great in this. And it's a powerful movie. It's very well done. Next up, I have Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, the Sam Raimi movies. I need to buy the third one because, like I said, I enjoy every one of these movies. The third one is the worst out of this franchise, but I enjoy some action sequences, and I mean, I don't hate it as much as some other people do. But yeah, this is my childhood. I remember watching these movies when I was young, and just being like, this is a lot of fun. And yeah, what can I say? I just like Spider-Man. He's one of my favorite superheroes. Next up, I have J.J. Abrams' Star Trek movie. I enjoyed this one. I think it's very well made. Like I said countless times before, I really like J.J. Abrams' directorial style. I think that he does a lot of like, those fun shots, and I like how intense he makes his scenes. And it's a well-made movie. And speaking of J.J. Abrams' star movies, I have Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I love this movie. This was my favorite of 2015. I had so much fun with this. It's such a fun movie. It's like one of the most entertaining movies I've ever seen in my life. And I think it's very well made. I really don't get the hate. Yeah, I mean, it's similar to A New Hope, but it's still really good and fun. I just don't get people sometimes. I need to get the other two in this trilogy and also other Star Wars movies. This is the only Star Wars movie I own. It's kind of pathetic. Next up, Suicide Squad. The screenplay in this movie is absolutely terrible. I don't like my movies to to look like music videos. I just don't like the editing in this. The directing it's not that good. Margot Robbie is good, yeah, and Will Smith is also very entertaining in this movie. But overall, it's a pretty bad movie. But I did enjoy Birds of Prey though. Next up, another J.J. Abrams movie, Super 8. I really like this one. This is a lot of fun, very well made. And I think, no, Mission Impossible 3 was my first J.J. Abrams experience. But I remember watching this movie in the theater and being like, this is very well made. This is a lot of fun. And also, like, I remember the sound design being like very, very good. Maybe they put new speakers in that theater at that time, so maybe that's why I noticed. But it's well made. On a technical aspect, and also it's a fun movie. Superbad, one of my favorite comedies of all time. It's so much fun. I could watch this over and over again. It's such an entertaining movie. McLovin, just absolute gold. Chica dee, fake ID. Oh, it's so much fun. And also Michael Cera and Jonah Hill. Just Superbad. I can't get enough Superbad. Next up, another movie starring Jonah Hill. Okay, this is the end. It's fun. They're making fun out of themselves, and it's a fun movie. Even though the ending, it's kind of like, what the fuck is going on right now? But you can watch it and laugh at it. I own the first two Thor movies, and it's kind of pathetic because I do not own a Ragnarok. I own Thor and Thor: The Dark World, and I need to expand my Blu-ray collection. Yeah, Thor: The Dark World, it's really not that great, but I mean, it's still visually pretty to look at, and I really like the first Thor movie actually. So yeah, MCU. I'm a fan of MCU. Next up, absolute great movie, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. It's this movie just hit me. I didn't expect this to be as good as it was. And also, this was my pick for Best Picture of that year. This was so well made, and just Frances McDormand, just absolutely terrific performance, and also Sam Rockwell. And what is with him and his characters lately? Like also in Jojo Rabbit. First of all, he plays like a shitty, unlikable guy, and then by the end he redeems himself. It's kind of strange, but yeah, Sam Rockwell, he's so great, and also Woody Harrelson is great in this movie. Just this entire movie, it's drama, but it's so entertaining, and it's hilarious. It's a hilarious movie. Next up, another gift, The Three Musketeers, and this is it's Paul W.S. Anderson. Yeah. It's one of his. I remember enjoying this one when I watched it in the theater, and I have it on 3D, so it will look pretty, I guess, but it's kind of crappy. And I think this was like the first time I saw James Corden, which is kind of like strange, but yeah, he's in this. Oh, God help me, 3 Musketeers. Next up, absolute classic, Titanic in 3D. I love this setup, like this whole cover, and just. It's a great movie, guys. I know that it's kind of a joke to like Titanic is he likes Titanic, but it's a very well made movie, and just visually it looks great. The 3D conversion is great, and just fuck it, Titanic is great. Sue me. Oh, now let's talk about some shitty movies. Transformers and Transformers Dark of the Moon, the third one. These are the only 2 that I own. I need to get Bumblebee because that one is my favorite. This movies, man. The first one, I think it goes by pretty quickly, even though it's very long. All of these movies are very long. This one is by far the best paced out of all of these Michael Bay directed Transformers movies. It goes by pretty quickly. It's big, and I think that the visual style of all of these movies is pretty good. But I don't care about the story at all in any of these movies. Maybe the first one the most, and that's why I liked Bumblebee so much, because it showed just so much heart. Tropic Thunder. I think I saw this movie way too young. I remember watching this movie with my dad in the theater, being like 11 years old. And just I didn't really get like that. I didn't get that like the trailers before this movie were fake trailers, because I didn't know any of those names. I remember recognizing Tom Cruise though, because I'm a big Tom Cruise fan, as I said before. And I was like, "Is that Tom Cruise, Daddy? Is that Tom Cruise?" But Yeah, that was fun. But yeah, it's a good movie. It's very entertaining and very self-aware, and also Robert Downey Jr. Phew, nowadays that would be risky. Another one of those just movies that look terrific. True Grit, a Coen Brothers movie, cinematography by Roger Deakins once again. This movie looks so beautiful. It's such a good looking movie. That just like the scale and the locations, the environments, it's so beautifully shot. I think that this is one of those ones that when the cinematography makes the movie for me. But it's also very good. I like the performances, like just Haley Steinfeld. Speaking of Bumblebee, her performance is absolutely terrific in this. Oscar nominated actually, and also Jeff Bridges, he's great in this movie. And also Matt Damon, yeah, he was good. And Josh Brolin, that's right, yeah. Unstoppable, Tony Scott, one of his last movies. It's fun. He also was a great pair with Denzel, and this is like one of those thrill rides, and it's just a very fun and entertaining movie that you can watch and just enjoy yourself. Next up, V for Vendetta. This was a little too much for me when I first watched it. I don't think I was old enough to get it, but it's very well made. Natalie Portman does a great job in this movie, and also Hugo Weaving. Even though I don't believe he was under the mask, or was he? It's one or the other. I don't remember. I don't think he was under the mask. But yeah, another. No, it's not Wachowski's directed. It's James McTeague directed this movie, and yeah, very, very well made. And I think I should rewatch it. So because I don't remember every single detail about this movie. Next up, another one of those fun movies that I remember watching when I was young and liking it ever since. Vantage Point. Such a random movie that is so much fun. Who directed this? Pete Travis. Pete Travis, why is that name familiar? Pete Travis. Okay, he directed 2012 Dread movie. The name sounded more familiar than just that. But yeah, Vantage Point. Very well made, just like the editing. The entire style of this. I think it's one of a kind. I don't think that this movie, that there's a lot of movies like that. And yeah, I think it was really, really fun. Next up, another one of those underrated movies, Victoria. Like, nobody's talking about this. This movie is entirely made in one take. It's a German movie, and I think it's really good. It was one of my favorites in 2015. I remember watching it in the theater, and just it's like a thrill ride. Just go and watch it. Not enough of people watched this movie. Next up, I have Warrior, a movie directed by Gavin O'Connor. He made this year's The Way Back, which I enjoyed quite a bit. But Warrior, Tom Hardy, Joel Edgerton, very well made. It has some heart in it, and it's about people. It's not about fighting. Yeah, it's well made. It's pretty good. Next up, White House Down. Roland Emmerich. Yeah, it's a guilty pleasure. I'm a fan of action movies, and this one is okay. I liked Olympus Was Fallen more, that came out that year, and that one actually got a franchise. This one was like a PG-13 version of that, and it's I don't know. It is what it is. Next up, Wonder Woman! I think it's a little overrated. Some people are thinking that this movie changed the world. It didn't, in my opinion. But it's fun. I think that, like, Chris Pine, I don't know what it is, but why did he give such a great performance in this movie? His performance was much better than it should have been. Like, why is nobody talking about that? That Chris Pine kind of like delivers truly amazing performance in Wonder Woman movie. That was kind of mind-blowing to me. But yeah, it's pretty well directed. CGI is terrible. Majority of these DCEU movies have just kind of like some strange CGI teams behind them. Next up, oh god, Wrath of the Titans. Look at this cool 3D cover. And I'm going to pretend like this is the only reason why I own this Blu-ray. I just love Sam Worthington. Said no one ever. Yeah, it's like, I think I might even get Clash of the Titans sometime in the future. Because I remember just like watching these movies and being like, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. It's so crappy though, but you know, what can we do? Okay, next up, X-Men First Class, beautifully directed movie, so stylishly made. It just like feels like one of those old school spy movies. Majority of this one, the first movie with McAvoy and Fassbender and Nicholas Hoult and Jennifer Lawrence in those roles, like the first edition with young X-Men characters. But this was a lot of fun. It was the first X-Men movie I saw in the theaters, and I really enjoyed it. I think this is very well made. Next up, the Wolverine, the 2013 Wolverine movie, the second one. I enjoyed this one. Hugh Jackman is terrific as always as this character, and it's fun. It's not amazing or anything, but it's well made. Next up, probably my favorite X-Men movie, or maybe second favorite, I don't know, but Days of Future Past. This is such an entertaining and well-made movie. Bryan Singer, he did a great movie with this, that's for sure. I think that this is one of the top ones in this franchise. As you can see, I start with First Class. I don't own the first 4 movies, yeah, if you count the Origins. Maybe I should own like I don't know, because like, yeah, I like the first and the second X-Men movie, but I'm not like big on them as much as some other people are. But I mean, that's kind of strange because owning my next one, X-Men Apocalypse, which a lot of people do not like, it's okay. It's not great. I remember liking it a lot when it came out, but then upon a few rewatches, it was kind of like, okay, maybe this isn't as great, but it's, I don't know. It's visually pretty. Next up, Logan. It's between this one and Days of Future Past for my favorite X-Men movie. Logan is absolutely beautiful. James Mangold. It just has such a different style. It's like a Western, and just it has probably the best Hugh Jackman performance ever, and also Patrick Stewart was great in this movie. It's just kind of like it's a film. It's kind of like a film. It's not even like a superhero movie, I would say. It's just so good. But next up, X-Men Dark Phoenix. Maybe I should own the first 4 movies as well, just to make it a complete collection. Look, fuck it. I had a fun time with this. I think that Hans Zimmer kind of like saved this movie for me, actually. I think that the musical score in this is terrific. I thought this was okay. Like the end action sequence was pretty fun, but you can see how it was a messy behind the scenes stuff going on here. It could be much better, but at the same time it could be much worse than first thing. And last up, hold up, this is a special one. You Don't Mess with Zohan. It's a guilty pleasure. I remember having so much fun with this one. Like Adam Sandler, he just does his stuff. He just does not care about critics or anything. He tried to achieve something with Uncut Gems, but they didn't take him seriously. So I think that he's gonna go back to crappy movies now. But yeah, this is my entire Blu-ray collection. Please share your thoughts about it in the comment section below. Like I said in the beginning, it's not anything major. Many of these franchises are incomplete. I need to expand it. It's just like the situation in my country. They are very rare, like the Blu-rays just in general, and they're very expensive. So yeah, I get what I can, and maybe I'll do one of these in the future as well. But yeah, like I said, share your thoughts in the comment section below. Let's have a discussion about this collection. Also, I have a second channel called Studio V Productions where you can check out some movies that me and my friends make for completely no budget. We have something coming on that channel very soon, probably in a few weeks or so. So stay tuned for that if you want to see that, but you will learn much more about that. So I thank you very much for watching this video, guys, and I'm going to see you next time. Bye!